Senator Cassidy.
Actually, Mr. Secretary Azar, what I heard is that if you effectively work with Congress, we can keep Medicare beneficiaries from paying more while we save taxpayers $30 billion and make the system more sustainable. So that's what I heard from you. I have 5 minutes, so I agree totally with Senator Bennett. He and I and others are working on a price transparency initiative. Clearly, you're after transparency. Now, one thing when you spoke about rebates, and you pointedly said you may have the authority within Part D, what about the commercial system?
So within rebates, we actually have the anti-kickback statute, which is where the rebate safe harbor exists, that allows this, that created this whole rebate system to start with. How far that reaches beyond government programs and whether that could apply into purely commercial private pay systems would be, we need to study that.
If you can let us know, because
yes,
that's where Congress would want to step in.
Yeah, and that's why I told the chairman we would welcome Congress.
Let me stop.
It's an important area.
Next, you had mentioned as well, and people have been concerned, how quickly will consumers begin to see lower drug costs. It seems that that is predicated on how quickly you can get out a rule forbidding gag clauses. That will be when we begin to see lower cost at the counter.
That's certainly one element.
When do you think you'll have out that rule?
So we've already sent a notice out to the Part D drug plans telling them that we do not expect to see any drug clauses. We find them intolerable in the Part D drug program. So frankly, that should be taking place immediately already. If anyone is being subject to a gag clause, if there's a pharmacist being subject, I ask you to please let CMS know immediately.
So you also mentioned that you want folks to know the cost of a drug before they go to the pharmacy. There's a recent consumer report about the cash price of drugs, not Medicare, but the cash price, varying in one case for generic from $44 to $700. But you only found when you knocked on the door of the pharmacy. Yeah. By what means are you suggesting that they will push out? Will this publicizing of drug prices by the pharmacy include the cash price? And by what means will you do that? And do you need our help to execute?
So on this type of transparency at both the point of sale at the pharmacy, as well as I would like to see this at the point of prescribing, so that when the doctor actually decides, they could advise you, the patient, for this drug, you'll pay this much out of pocket when you go to this pharmacy, but there are these alternative drugs that I could write if that works.
But what about the cash price?
I think we need Congress to, that is that out-of-pocket cash price. That should be knowable, and that is an area where we really could work with Congress.
Theoretically, cash price, though, would not be under the legislation of a insurance company. That would be someone uninsured.
So you mean the percentage, so for the folks who are just paying without insurance on that? Well, that one, I'd want to work with you on that. I've been most focused on those who are insured and knowing what your out-of-pocket expenses under your plan, and that's an area we'd love to work with Congress on. It would be a huge benefit to patients in the system if we could design a system where the doctor knows when writing that prescription.
Okay, let me stop.
Choices.
My office has just recently posted a bill, a white paper on how to lower cost. And one thing is we think of, and my colleague, Senator Collins, did such good work on this, the Martin Shkreli's of the world, who get a single drug and then they raise the price dramatically. Now, you could go to Great Britain and get the same drug. And bring it back, but that's currently not allowed except under exceptional circumstances. One proposal that we proposed in our white paper is that since the FDA has a memorandum of understanding with their EU equivalent, that if one certifies a plant in India as having good manufacturing practices, the other agency will agree with it. What if we extend that to if both agencies have a secure supply chain, that a wholesaler could go to Great Britain and buy a generic drug if we're down to one producer here who, using monopoly power, is jacking up price? What would you think about that?
So that should be on the table, and I'd love to work with Commissioner Gottlieb and the Congress on that. If we could wire the systems together to allow a generic drug to have expedited approval through FDA in those kind of circumstances.
This is not an expedited approval.
But we might actually, with a generic, we might actually be able to construct an expedited approval so we don't even do any violence to our approval system and get that in. That's one issue.
Well, see, I'm speaking of, say, doxycycline, a pill which I'm told now costs $13.50. It's out there for 50 years. It should cost 50 cents.
Exactly.
If we know it's being produced in India, coming to the U.S. and Great Britain, why can't a wholesaler just go to Great Britain if there's only one producer of, or only one importer? This is not re-importation, this is importation.
And we're happy to work and be open-minded here on coming up with
I'm out of time, lots of questions I will submit for the record. Thank you.